This one was a tough one, really. And it's strange because I've made so many images like these in the past, so it should be easy for me now. I really struggled to go through that session and regret some of the decisions that I took that day. Bad choices? Yeah. Not enough preparation? Yeah. But now I have an example that will help me tell you why I hate sharing my camera settings with you and also the settings of my flashes. Without further ado, let's dive into this. Do not expect anything groundbreaking or new here. It's my usual stuff, photographing a dancer in an unusual place, location. Unusual. Well, I'm not the only one doing that. I will not be the last, and I'm happy to see that a lot of photographers now are creating their own images like these. I had with me the Fujifilm GFX100s, the GF20-35mm and GF250mm, plus 3 flashes, the 80-1200 Pro, 80-600 Pro, and 80-300 Pro, and a few light modifiers. I am going to mention one of them. It's the parabolic P158, one of my favorite light modifiers these days. So, you know what? I should be used to shooting inside churches and museums. So what went wrong here? Maybe I haven't worked in such a poorly lit environment in a long time, so I didn't have the right accessories with me, and I was afraid I wouldn't be able to use my wide-angle lens and photograph that magnificent location. Last year, I made a special session for Fujifilm inside the Capitale de Toulouse, and although the light coming from the windows wasn't great, it was just enough for me. I wasn't forced to go too high with my ISO and found the right settings to still capture a few movements. I've seen other photographers shoot there, and a lot of them made the same mistake. They use a flash to light their model and find a decent exposure, but because they are so obsessed with having an ISO as low as possible because they don't want any noise in their image, they end up with a background that is completely underexposed and even sometimes completely black. You know, I do love a slightly underexposed background to create some kind of separation with my model, but I still manage to retain most of the details in that background. The only images, portraits that were made there that kind of work for me were the ones where the photographer didn't use any artificial light, no flashes. He or she only used the light coming from the windows. So the problem I faced in that particular location is that there are no windows and the light is coming from the ceiling, and that light wasn't enough. Merci. take.
Le bras, ça va être difficile. Là. Allez.
So I narrowed it down to 3 scenarios, 3 options. Number 1, I have all the accessories, all the flashes at my disposal to actually light the entire place, and of course, my model. Option number 2, I don't have the accessories, I don't have enough flashes, or maybe not the right ones. So I have to photograph separately my background and my model, of course, which means that I will have to merge maybe multiple photos in post in Photoshop. And option number 3, I try to find the right balance depending on what I'm shooting between my shutter speed and ISO. I try to keep my shutter speed as low as possible every time my dancer doesn't move so that I can keep my ISO as low as possible. The problem with option number 3 is that I had to go up to ISO 1600, which also meant that I had to work with the practical lights that were there. Horrible practical lights that created weird shadows on my model with different light temperatures. What a beginner mistake. I did a horrible mix of all 3 options instead of favoring number 2, even if it meant more work in Photoshop. Instead of using my light creatively, I was fighting for each scene to create a somewhat decent image, a workable image. Very few images were made, and some are more convincing than others. But you know what? I still enjoyed that experience because I learned so much during that session. We cannot be at the top of our game all the time, and I'm okay with that. Plus, I know that that experience will probably help me with future projects. I will conclude with this. Stop asking me or any other photographer out there for our camera settings, flash settings, because you will never work in the same conditions. You will never have the same location, same model, same lights, same weather. So if we hand you a recipe and if you apply it to your own work, you will probably end up with horrible results. Take your camera, go out there, try new ideas and run some tests. It's the only way to learn. Got it? I guess that I will catch you in the next one. Take care, and until then, please have a good one.